This episode is brought to you by Cargo, a strategic marketing firm that we at Stone Mantle have partnered with for years. Cargo knows how to build meaningful brand experiences because they ask every prospect or client the same question. What if every customer brought you your next one? Let's face it, customers advocating for your brand, not you, is the only currency that matters now. It's the kind you earn by investing in moments that move people, experiences that hit deeper, stick longer, and spark something real. Because when something feels personal, when it truly resonates, people share it. And when they do, you don't just earn attention, you earn trust, traction, and impact that money alone could never buy. Cargo focuses on just that, inspiring advocacy, creating unforgettable brand moments that spark real connection, meaningful conversation, and loyalty that builds movements, not just market share. For a limited time and only for Experience Strategy Podcast listeners, they're offering their proprietary advocacy readiness workshop for free to a few companies who are serious about getting every customer to bring you the next. Follow the link in the show notes to sign up and tell them that Dave, Aransas, and Joe sent you. Welcome to the Experience Strategy Podcast, where every week we talk about something hot in the news that is related to experience strategy. Your hosts are Joe Pine, author of The Experience Economy and lots of other bestsellers, Dave Norton. That's your name, right? And Experience Futurist.
Norton, that's what we're calling you.
Dave Norton, who's also the founder of Stone Mantle. And I'm Aransas Savas, an expert in coaching, motivation, and behavior change. And today we are talking about AI again. I know, no shocker there. But we're really looking at the rise of AI influencers. Now, they've been around for a long time. They have made a lot of noise over the last couple of weeks, especially as the original Lil Miquela, who I think maybe has been around since about 2019 and raising questions about AI personalities and trust, has now found her match in Zelu, both of which have millions of followers and are generating like massive income. We're talking hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars over the course of a given week for the teams behind them. They are not real humans, though. You could say, arguably, there's a team of real humans behind them, but it is a machine-generated identity who is being presented with strong opinions and personality. Joe is booing in the background. I wonder if that's what happened when Zelu went to the U.S. Open last week. Oh, wait, she didn't go to the U.S. Open. She just showed pictures of herself having gone to the U.S. Open, and those were sold on social. And bizarrely, that is not why people unfollowed her. They unfollowed her because she was tacitly endorsing Speaker Pelosi. I think that's fascinating, right? As I was scrolling her,
who's no longer speaker, by the way. I just thought I'd point that out.
Yeah, exactly. Though her Instagram handle is still, I guess, Speaker Pelosi.
I should say former Speaker Pelosi.
Yeah, that doesn't really have a ring to it, though, on your Instagram handle, I guess, if you want to be known as Speaker Pelosi. And so, I think what that says to me is that people are looking to have a parasocial relationship with machines. And we've talked about this on the show multiple times, but a parasocial relationship, not just with a living celebrity, but a machine celebrity, is something altogether different. and as I think about who this audience is, I was fascinated when I went over to check out Mia Zelu's account, who I wasn't aware of. I have like 20 followers in common with her. Um, right? So it isn't, and none of the people who follow me are probably teenagers, right? So it's not kids necessarily that we're talking about. This isn't the digital natives in Gen Alpha and Gen Zeta, but rather it is a wide range of people. Um, and so I think as we talk about this, we're going to have to talk about trust. We're going to have to talk about what this means for the future of the influencer economy, what this means for brands who are building relationships with these folks. A quick scroll of any of these accounts, and you're going to see that largely their influence is driven through partnership because brands are hungry to communicate or to be associated with these machines. And for me, it really got me thinking back to, I don't know, do you guys watch Black Mirror?
Yes.
I don't know anything about it, but I will. If you tell me it's
watch
good.
it all. I'm obsessed. I
Yeah.
don't read the news. I just watch Black Mirror. No, not really. Just kidding. That I won't admit that. I love Black Mirror, and having seen these episodes when they initially came out, I mean, it's scary. There is an episode about an AI musician called Ashley that I think about a lot. And Ashley was a fully cultivated performer. She was up on stages. She had a massive following, and she was not real. She was not a living, breathing human being, but who she though believed she was. There's a play that was recently on Broadway, won some Tonys, called Maybe Happy Endings, and it is about sort of the emotional journey of the life of a robot through retirement and finding purpose post retirement in their service careers as robots. And it's a really lovely show, but it also really got me thinking about the embodiment of these machines, both as consumers and users of these machines, but also sort of weirdly for the machines themselves. Anyway, I'm probably just rambling here and haven't said anything of, too much importance, but I'm just fascinated and have more questions than answers today. Dave, let's kick this actual conversation off with you.
Well, I don't, I can't keep up on everything that's going on with AI or AI influencers, and no one really can, right? There's just too much going on.
Yeah.
But I think this is a really interesting inflection point in terms of kind of how we think about the history of trust. Mm-hmm. And where trust is going. Mm-hmm. And I don't know the answer. Maybe we'll be able to divine the answer, but it seems to me like historically you've been able to say, trust us because of our reputation. And now trust is a very complicated kind of thing that when people say, I don't trust her because she's AI, they might be saying a number of different things. They might be saying something along the lines of, my values don't align with her values. I don't trust the data that's associated with it. It's not real, which is an authentic play, Joe, right? Is she really real? I mean, she's as real as she can possibly be for a digital storyteller, which is what she describes herself as a digital storyteller. So there's lots of different ways. You think back to the 2000s when the internet era took off. The two key words for trust were transparency and information. We needed transparency. We needed information. In the 2010s, that's when social media kind of took off. We were focused on peer-to-peer recommendations. Everybody was talking about social proof. And that's what trust was about. I think the 2020s started out talking about values alignment. I don't know if we're going to stick with that because there seems to be such a big divide. Maybe we are. But data stewardship and being authentic are going to be really interesting. What does it mean to be authentic, and how does that relate to trust? I think is a really interesting thing for us to dive into.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, I think what you're saying about social proof is really interesting here, because in fact, we are still driven by a desire for social proof. It
Right.
is, however, manufactured social proof. So what was so attractive about social proof is it felt like a human, a non-corporate entity can tell me about an authentic experience in a
That they
way that
had.
will help me have confidence in my purchase.
Right.
I love the way you
However, we are talking about the exact opposite here. We are talking about and now, I mean, that is our relationship with this very murky relationship with social proof. So I go and I read. Like yesterday, I got I got like the 20th email from somebody who was offering me this business service that sounded really attractive, and I reached out to a real human being friend in that category, and I said, "Hey, do you know anything about this company?" She was like, "No, but take a meeting with them and let me know what you find out." So then I started to do some research on my own because I was like, I don't know how much more of my data I want to give them before without more social proof. So I started to do some research and I looked at Trustpilot, and there were 15 reviews. 14 of them 5-star, glowing, one totally negative. Now, the glowing ones seemed legit at first read. The 1-star said, and I'll try to quote it as directly as I can. It said, "Read those 14 reviews. I ran them through Is This an AI?" And they all came back rated 100% AI.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
Come on,
What a
trust
great
my
story.
Right,
so
but did you believe that 14th one? No,
I don't know
15th
that
one?
I do.
Yeah, that's an
I don't believe
awesome
any of
story.
How
them.
do you know it's
So
not a
what is
competitor
social
who put
proof
that review up
anymore?
there?
Yeah, what is it?
It strikes me that in some way we've been preparing for this moment for a long time in the movies that we watch and
Mhm.
the stories that we read about super intelligent technologies that are out there. There was always this base premise that unless something went wrong, the technology, the intelligent technology, was going to be logical. And the way to kind of solve for things was to be human and balance out the logicalness of the technology. I think the more that we get
Mm.
into the world of AI and the way things are going, it's not that black and white.
Mm-mm. And I
It's
actually thought it was going to be
much,
the other. Just to counter that for a second, I feel like most of what I'm hearing is, well, machines can't replicate empathy. And
right, which is right.
right,
Go
that
ahead.
Of
they are
course they
not
can.
capable of emotion. However, I think we have an abundant like set of data that says, well, how do humans learn empathy? They learn it through modeling.
And
That's a
that's
It's
good
a
exactly
point.
what
set of
AI does.
data that we collect throughout the course of our lives. And that same data is available to the machine. So I don't know. As like a super empathy driven person, every part of my life is rooted in empathy and compassion and connection. And I'm not confident that we've got the lock on that as humans.
Yeah.
Well, my personal point of view is we have the lock on it, but it can be simulated. I mean, all the AI does is they simulate that.
Why
They
is
don't
it any
actually
less real
have
if it's a
empathy.
machine? If they're basing it on the same data we have.
Well, the same argument can be made for Mia, right?
Yeah.
Why is she any less
She has
real?
leukemia right now. Oh no, that's I'm not even kidding.
Where's she
Little
getting her
Miquela
treatment? I haven't seen any posts
has
on that.
leukemia. She is going through treatment, and people are thanking her because of course she's got millions of followers and she's raising awareness about this. This machine has a blood disease.
that she was paid to have, that her handlers were paid to have.
Yep.
One of the things about these things in the New York Times article, this vice president of partnerships for Dapper, which I assume has used her, talks about. I'm just reading it off here. Miquela has a fantastic team behind her. We think it's healthy to have multiple people thinking through Miquela's, I guess, voice, analyzing what we're seeing her audience care about, what her audience cares about, worry about, think about, and also understand what are the problems in the world today that Miquela can have a voice on. Well, Miquela doesn't have a voice on any problems today because Miquela doesn't have a voice. It's her handlers behind her. This is different. This is different than a full-fledged personality. In all these marketing cases, it is actually marketing people that are putting her in these situations, saying what she's going to do. There's primarily AI images that are being used to be able to sell this. And the one below this quote in the New York Times, it has a picture of Miquela in front of a BMW, and it says what it's from. This is 2023, and it says in big letters, partially generated by AI. But it doesn't tell you, well, the person is all generated by AI. It was in the landscape, it's the real part. No.
The only real part is the machine.
The Dapper, exactly. And so Dapper Labs, those, yes, are the guys who are creating this account and running this account. But what is informing their decisions? AI. So they have AI crawlers who are analyzing what.
Money.
Yeah.
And they have AI though crawling.
They tell the AI what to think in this case. It's not the AI thinking by itself.
They have said to the AI.
Because some leukemia association paid its money.
It's
AI didn't come up with, I think I'll have leukemia.
I disagree. I disagree and think it's possible because what they have done is they have trained this AI to analyze these millions of accounts and ask what kind of content people are engaging with. What are they engaging with? Stories of overcoming, stories of managing disease and loss, right? So once we give AI a prompt to analyze that engagement level and ask it to create response to that engagement level, that's all the machine.
I don't disagree with you that that's possible. I'm saying that's not what's going on with these particular characters. And when it does that, it's still totally purely simulation. It's not actual, right? Now, and Dave, you mentioned my book with Jim Gilmore, Authenticity. And we do talk about how, really key point, authenticity is personally determined. Right. And so I'm giving you my personally determined opinion on whether it's authentic or not. But Iran says you're going to have plenty of people. They already say they didn't even know she wasn't real,
right?
But maybe over time, in the Velveteen Rabbit sense, they will rub her fur off enough on Instagram, and she'll become real to them.
What a trippy metaphor there.
Yeah, I'm kind of in a different place. I'm like, we're so used to stories being artificial. They are they're crafted.
Whenever we see a movie with the kids and say this is based on a true story, I always say this is not what you're there for. What that means is you're not seeing a true story. This is not what happened. Right?
But now,
no, it is not what happened. Believe me.
Okay. What's interesting now is that the storyteller is now artificial. We've never been in a place where the storyteller is artificial, because
how you define a movie, but
she's an invented character. Is actually, I think,
but that's actually generating stories.
Yeah.
That's. I mean, she's trained to do certain things, but she's generating stories, and that's a fascinating thing to kind of think about. You can now create the storyteller that then generates a myriad of different stories. It's a really interesting place to be. I think it's very disconcerting, and I don't know what it's going to do to trust. But I do think that some of the lessons that we've learned around trust need to be applied. The fact that you kind of have to click and read more to find out that she's a digital storyteller, to me that's not being transparent. You should be transparent.
Robot.
Yes.
At the beginning. And people say all sorts of weird stuff in their Instagram bios. So it would be very easy to just disregard that as her being cute.
Yeah.
Right.
So, yeah, it would be very easy.
But
I
from a
think,
trust perspective, I think what brands need to be thinking about here are many of the same lessons that we have been reflecting on for the past few years, which is this persistent trend in trust amongst those closest to us. So we do still rate most highly our level of trust in those who we can touch and feel, who are right outside our window, in our neighborhood, in our towns. And I do think we will see an increase in the hyper-local influencer and the micro-influencer community, which we're seeing more and more companies investing in micro-influencers, a person with maybe 1,000 followers who is just very real and influential in a smaller sector. And so I think we're going to see some investment dollars shift there from, okay, the person with the 24 million followers that nobody's ever actually met or can really genuinely relate to the person that they might get to meet up with once a year, but who is also being paid by these brands. And so it's largely the same economic arrangement, just on a much smaller scale. But from an experience standpoint, um, because right, like experienced strategists are less likely to be the ones who are creating brand partnerships specifically, or thinking about influencing, but they are thinking about how to build a trusting relationship. And that, I think, for most of our clients, is going to be a matter of thinking about what their service experience is like.
well, and
Where
I'd
do you
take it.
use a machine and where do you use a human?
I would take it a step further for experienced strategists. I think, experienced strategists are there to oftentimes to represent the customer and to
Mm-hmm.
think forward about what are the implications that are going to come. So a couple of lessons I think that experienced strategists can take away from this. First of all, there does need to be some sort of disclosure. And if your company is not in the business of actually disclosing, then you're affecting trust. Secondly, when you make something that is visually perfect with the intent that it's going to be perceived as real, that can be seen as being manipulative. So,
Plus the fact that if it's visually perfect, it's generally not thought of as real. It's the humanness of the patina of
good
Have you read
point.
about how many content creators now are like intentionally planting mistakes in their
Right.
AI generated
Well,
content for that
I
reason?
was just going to go there.
Yeah.
It may very well be that the mistake that somebody makes in your business is the thing that signals to the customer that this is real,
Yeah.
which is a fascinating flip for most
Yes.
experienced strategists
Yeah.
because we've been trying to get rid of flaws for so long. You need to be careful about emotional manipulation. That's, we've been able to say the sales guy sells, the marketing person tells a story, the experienced strategist tells the truth. You need to be careful. One of the things the strategist needs to do is be very careful about emotional manipulation.
Yep.
And because the tools are far more powerful. Because if you don't do those types of things, your trust is going to erode. And it is going to be because of the experience that it's going to erode. So I think that there are some real lessons that experienced strategists need to be gleaning from these AI influencers about how they think about representing the customer.
I will say what they can learn beneficially from them, going back to how they're generating such viral content, is they're really listening to what their customer cares about.
Yeah, almost to a fault.
They're doing an excellent job of it. And that's what they are using their AI for. I mean, for many things, but at the root of it is that they're making it their business to understand what their customer cares about. And I think we can all do a better job of that and challenge ourselves to use technology, to use AI specifically to help us understand what our customers want and need and make it our business to respond to those wants and needs, hopefully in more authentic ways. But that underlying data set is core nonetheless.
Mm. Yeah.
So I'll just, as a closing comment, mention the movie Her with
Yep.
Joaquin Phoenix as a
Yep.
sop who falls in love with an AI voiced by Scarlett Johansson, which I for one can perfectly understand. But and that AI did all the just stuff that you were just talking about in terms of understanding this person as an individual and so forth. And I wouldn't necessarily say it's a great movie. It is like a long episode of Dark Black Mirror.
Black Mirror.
That's the sort of ilk you get. And but I just love the ending. Where and so stop now if you haven't seen Her and want to see it. This is a spoiler alert, right?
Spoiler alert.
Well, I love the ending where the AIs basically decide just to go off by themselves and commune with themselves and leave the humans alone. And so one can only hope that would happen here in this case as well.
I'm not sure I agree, but all right.
I mean, interestingly, and maybe happy ending, here's my spoiler alert there. The retired helper bots are retired to essentially a retirement village where they are ordering their own replacement parts until they become completely obsolete. No more replacement parts are available. And so the machines would ultimately eventually break without any human management. And that is when they would be non-functional. But out of a sense of loss and longing and purpose for their professional success, the deep relationships they had with their humans, they end up going off on an adventure together to try to reclaim some meaning and purpose in their lives. And ultimately still, just like a human being, die. So it is actually pretty tragic and not entirely dissimilar to what you're describing there. So maybe that's something art is foretelling for the future. Or maybe we're just looking for ways to relate to these machines, and by making them feel more human, they feel a little less terrifying.
Yeah, could be.
Well, this has been fun. If you've been listening for a while, we really appreciate you. And we love hearing from you guys on our Substack, The Experienced Strategist. Dave is our principal creator over on the Substack, but Joe and I are certainly there doing our thing as well on our own Substacks. And we're always all so excited to hear from you, our listeners, and to continue these conversations. If you see something in the news and you think, man, I wonder what Joe Pine, Dave Norton, and Aranzis have to say about this. Send it our way. We love hearing your ideas for what we should be talking about. Wouldn't be very good experienced strategist if we didn't, would we? We'll see you next week with our next article.